Hello, this is Abhishek Mishra, Faculty of Social Studies at MLZS JHANSI. In this video, I am going to teach you Political Theory chapter number 2, that is your freedom. In my last video, we had studied about the negative and the positive liberty. Here in this video, we will understand the criteria of the freedom of expression. विचार व्यक्त करने की स्वतंत्रता, आपको अपनी बात बोलने की स्वतंत्रता, उसके ऊपर कहाँ कितनी रेस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाई जा सकती हैं, इन सभी चीज़ों को आज हम इस वीडियो में डिस्कस करने वाले हैं. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट फ्रॉम हेयर. वन ऑफ द इश्यूज दैट इज कंसीडर्ड टू बिलोंग टू द मिनिमम एरिया ऑफ नॉन इंटरफेरेंस इज द फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन. जॉन स्टुअर्ट मिल set out good reasons why freedom of expression should not be restricted. This is a good case for discussion. At various times, there have been demands to ban books, plays, films, or academic articles in research journals. Let us think about this demand to ban books in the light of our discussion so far, which sees freedom as the making of choices where a distinction is made between negative and the positive liberty, where we recognize the need for justifiable constraint, but these have to be supported by proper procedures and important moral arguments. Freedom of expression is a fundamental value, and for that society must be willing to bear some inconvenience to protect it from people who want to restrict it. So there can be various freedoms on which restrictions can be imposed, and by some means you can consider whether the restrictions that are imposed are they justifiable or not, and this distinguishes between the criteria of negative and the positive liberty. But simply by banning books or movies, you cannot put a restriction on the freedom of others. Remember Voltaire's statement कि I disapprove of what you say but I will defend to death your right to say it. Though you would be saying something for which I maybe disagree, but if it is your right to speak, I will fight for that your right. कि you have the right to speak whether someone would be agree by this or not, but if you have the right, you should speak. This Voltaire had said. How deeply are we committed to this freedom of expression? Some years ago, Deepa Mehta filmmaker wanted to make a film about widows in Varanasi. It sought to explore the plight of widows, how much difficult life they used to live. But there was a strong protest that it was an action that can defame the ancient towns. Deepa Mehta was taking the matter into consideration for the normal people, that they can also know about the reality of the life of the widows. But as it was defaming the ancient towns, so there was a strong protest for that. So this movie was subsequently made elsewhere. Similarly, the book Ramayana, retold by Aubrey Menon, the satanic verses by Salman Rushdie, were banned after protest from some sections of society, as it might be criticizing the immoral traditions of that caste or maybe of community, so such things were banned. The film The Last Temptation of Christ and the play Me Nathuram Bolte were also banned after protest. So it can be said that here some restrictions were imposed on the right of expression. One has the right to speak or to show the public about the reality of ongoing world. But as restrictions were imposed, here right to expression was brutally suppressed. Now, banning is an easy solution for the short term. If you want to suppress the right to expression of anyone, you can ban that particular movie or maybe an audio clip or video clip. But if it would be done in the long term prospect, it would be an hindrance for the freedom or the freedom of expression. So there will be one that may develop a habit of banning. सरकार जो है वो फिर चीज़ों को हर छोटे मोटे तौर पर बैन करने लगेगी एक बार जब बैन करने की आदत पड़ जाती है. बट does this mean that we should never ban? After all, we do have censorship of films. कई सारी ऐसी मूवीज़ होती हैं जहाँ पर ऐसे कुछ शब्दों को बोला जाता है जिससे किसी की मनोभावनाओं या किसी की धार्मिक मान्यताओं को ठेस पहुँचती है. तो यहाँ सेंसरशिप जो होती है ये हम मूवीज़ के ऊपर इम्प्लाई करते हैं. बट इट इज़ नॉट सिमिलर to banning where only a portion of a film is banned, not the whole film. But we do not ban the whole film. The question is that often debated therefore is when should one ban and when should one not? Should one never ban, or just for interest? In England, anyone who is employed to work for the royal household is constrained by a contract from writing about the inner affairs of the household. It can be said is a fundamental right or maybe the right to expression of anyone. But if a person who works in a royal palace, he or she may be abstained to tell about the internal affair of the palace. So if a person who is to leave the employment would be unable to give an interview or write an article or author a book about the politics of the royal household, is this an unjustifiable constraint on the freedom of expression? According to me, as far as I am concerned, yes, it is unjustifiable, because here the right of expression is totally abstain. Constraints of different kind thus exist, and we are subjected to them in different situations. While reflecting on such situations, we need to realize that when constraints are backed by organized social, religious or cultural authority or by the might of the state, they restrict our freedom in ways that are difficult to fight against. Conflicts are there when constraints are imposed by external authority, but when they are imposed to you by the state or by the religious or social authority who are running and ruling on your country, there are very impossible ways to restrict them. There are very less ways to go against them. You have to follow them. However, if we willingly or for the sake of pursuing our goals or ambitions accept certain restrictions, our freedom is not similarly limited. In any case, if we are not coerced into accepting the condition, then we cannot claim that our freedom has been curtailed.